Star Citizen is on the brink of either making something truly unique or completely falling flat on their face, specifically in 2025. With the recent developments, particularly Chris Roberts' chairman's letter, Star Citizen has given us some strong hints about CIG's priorities, and I've got some predictions for 2025 that I think you'll find interesting. Welcome to Legion 214 Gaming. For years, Star Citizen has been known for its ambitious scope, and let's be honest, its share of bugs and performance issues. But could 2025 be the year that changes? I think so, and it all revolves around a potential shift towards stability and the long-awaited arrival of Squadron 42. So what do I mean by that? Let's start off with the chairman's letter. So Chris Roberts' recent letter emphasized a focus on improving the core game experience by tackling bugs and stability. This isn't just a routine update. I believe it's a strategic move to prepare for something much bigger, and that's the release of Squadron 42. And this focus on stability makes perfect sense. Squadron 42 is poised to be a major entry point for new players. If their first experience with the Star Citizen universe is riddled with bugs and performance issues, it could severely damage the game's reputation and hinder its long-term success. So, Squadron 42 isn't just a standalone game. It's a carefully crafted introduction to the Star Wars universe. And a captivating single-player campaign featuring a star-studded cast is the perfect way to draw on players who might be intimidated by the complexity of the persistent universe. So a stable Star Citizen experience is crucial for converting Squadron 42 players into Star Citizen backers. If they enjoy the story and gameplay of Squadron 42, a polished and stable persistent universe would be much more enticing. So what I'm getting at is that supporting these features for a better experience is something that's going to be super important. So supporting these features are going to be important for a better experience. And what do I mean by that? Simply bug fixing, it just isn't going to be enough. So to truly enhance the player experience and support the influx of new players, I predict the implementation of significant progress on several key features. So one of those is engineering. And this is where we start to get into what are my predictions? What do I think Star Citizen is going to do this year in order to ensure the success Star Citizen Squadron 42 moving forward. So one of those is engineering. We'll go ahead and get into that right now and talk about that a little bit first. So what is engineering? Engineering is a robust system that will add depth and immersion to gameplay, giving players more urgency in maintaining and customizing their ships. That's going to make it to where we kind of have to work with each other, right? So this is getting to CIG's whole thing of, don't go out there alone. You can if you want to, but it's a better experience if you go with a group of players. Now, this is not me advocating or saying that, PvE or PvP is better, over either or. I think in this game, there's space for both. But with engineering comes the ability to actually do more with your friends, to give them roles, not just have them on your ship or you just be on their ship and you're just kind of sitting around twiddling your thumbs. There'll be more for you to do, changing out fuses, checking on the components, stuff like that, making sure that, everything within the ship is running smoothly for, you and your friends or your Oryx expedition to whatever you decide to do. And that leads me into my next thing, which is base building. Base building is or will provide players with a sense of ownership and permanence within the verse, encouraging long-term engagement. If base building comes in this year, which I really do expect it will, if not this year, then I expect by at least Q1, definitely before Invictus of next year. And the reason why I say that, most of my predictions saying that, hey, it's going to come out before Invictus next year, and a little bit later I'll reveal why that is. But with base building, it still gets into that whole, hey, group gameplay or needing to contact others for help, right? So initially, yes, with base building in its first iteration, I expect and I suspect that it'll be very, very basic. So maybe we'll be able to build our little halves, or, you know, whatever they're deciding to call them out there on the frontier of space. But for this video, I'm just gonna call them a hab. So build our little habs. Maybe like, you know, little things around here, like, you know, power, building a generator or something like that, so that way you'll have power in your hab. Maybe something industrial, maybe even a landing pad or something like that. I don't know. I think they'll surprise us a little bit with base building. I know for sure, after speaking with a few devs in stream, not my stream, but somebody else's stream, that base building is actually further along than what any of us actually expect. So I'm expecting a basic entry level for base building, possibly more than what any of us really think. I think they'll give us something that we can kind of really chew onto and really have some fun with, because it'll be great at first to build kind of like your little homestead, but it'll get boring after a while. And we know how these patches go within CIG. You know, when they first come out, it's fantastic. Then after a while, it kind of gets a little bit boring, because you start to realize some of its limitations. You know, it's not all the systems are connected together to make this gameplay or loop or this, you know, actually enjoyable. You know, it's enjoyable when it first comes out because it's a new shiny thing, but it doesn't really sustain itself. I hope and I suspect that with base building along with engineering, this will be something that will kind of sustain itself, because along with base building, you had to bring in crafting. And along with crafting, that's just another loop that kind of ties in with engineering, crafting, base building, all those things tying together. And then you can use other people to help you out with those things. Also, you know, resource gathering. I'm sorry, I didn't even think about the resource gathering that comes into all this with crafting. So, you know, I could get in contact with somebody's org and say, hey, I need this much of this, and this, and I need it refined as well in order to build my base, you know, and then work that out with them to just to kind of get that done. They gather the resources for me, they even refine it for me, deliver it to me, and then now I'm able to build my base. And that's how the work goes in there. And after building my base, I have to obviously maintain it. And with charging drain coming in, engineering, you know, all these other different services that would be connected with that, right there sets another loop for us to kind of, you know, enjoy or play with. And that's, you know, maintaining our bases, you know, getting in contact with people saying, hey, you know, I need this kind of resource, can you deliver it here? Man, you know, they're really kind of like staking your claim in the verse and giving you something that you can actually say, hey, I own this and I want to take care of it, I want to maintain it, I want to make sure that it's good. It gives you a reason to log in every day. And that brings me to dynamic server meshing, which is going to be important if we're going to have all these systems, as well as, you know, garnering new players. Dynamic server meshing is crucial for handling large player base and ensuring smooth performance in popular areas. And when I mean large player base, I mean a larger player base, as, you know, high numbers on the cap for the servers. And, you know, I believe, and what Ben Wise has been saying, he hasn't, you know, given me any reason to think that he was lying or anything like that, but he's already stated that dynamic server meshing parts of it are already in, and that it's going to be easier to implement. So I do believe that dynamic server meshing is one of those things. I'm almost 90% sure on it, and hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me in the butt later on, but I believe dynamic server meshing will be one of those things that we will see by the end of this year in 2025. And then lastly, but not the only things but this is just one of the bigger things that I think that they'll do, is social services, the stuff that we saw over at CynicalCon in 2954. And the reason why I say social services, this all leads me to my bigger point. Social services, you know, with the influx of players, bringing in, you know, engineering, base building, crafting, if they hit all those things, along with the stability of the game, the playability of the game, really cracking down on those things, then I truly do believe you have to kind of bring in social services, because what is that going to do? It's going to lead to us doing more things in the verse as a player base, which is what we want and what CIG wants. but how are we going to communicate with each other? How many of you have been out there running around, but you can't communicate with anybody that's actually in the verse because VoIP doesn't work at all? Those are the things I'm looking for this year, that they're going to work on. VoIP, some type of in-game trading that we can do, because with crafting and, needing people's services for things like gathering resources or finding for base building or crafting, whatever you're doing with those things, you're going to need, these social services, so that way you can talk to people, rate them, maybe set out a beacon or a mission or something like that, saying, hey, I need this much of this much of that gathered for me and brought to this place, refined as well, so that way, I can build my base or whatever you decide to do with those resources. Even if you just decide like, hey, I'm going to store these for, a later day or rainy day or something like that in my hangar, you're able to do those a lot easier with social services. So this is, one of those things where I don't even think that CIG can really play around with this. If their plan is what I think their plan is, and honestly, I think it's plain to see. I just think that we have so much. CIG's built a lot of negative equity within the community. They've done a lot of good, but as far as like their timelines go, they've built a lot of negative equity. So it's hard to imagine that they're going to stick to a timeline that's going to matter for next year. And that will lead me into what my bigger point is. And that's for a marketing push for Squadron 42 this year. And I believe we'll see a significant, push for Squadron 42 starting around CitizenCon this year. And that can include a playable demo to generate hype and allow players to experience the game firsthand, more in-depth character introductions featuring, actors themselves. So like Mark Hamill or Henry Cavill, just having them out there discussing what their roles and maybe their character's story within Squadron 42. And then most importantly, I predict a release date announcement, potentially targeting Invictus launch week in 2026. Invictus is already a major event for Star Citizen, and using it as the launch pad for Squadron 42 would be a brilliant strategic move. It would bring existing players back into the verse and introduce countless new players for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. Now, all that makes sense to me. It almost seems obvious. And, I know there are probably a few people out there that have hit on this, but I really want to hit on it. If Chris is talking about, in the letter of the chairman, about stability and playability this year being the focus, why now? Out of all the years, is it because of server meshing? No, I don't think so. I think that was the prerequisite for it, and I think that's why they had a hard, hey, listen, no matter what, barring something catastrophic, 2024 we have to have server meshing in. Why? Because 2025 will be the focus, stability and playability, bug fixing, and they really need to stick to that timeline for 2025. And my guess is because they know, like we all do, anybody who plays the game, that if you go out there and you put out Squadron 42, and if it's as good as we all hope it is going to be, and based off of the 1 hour showcase that we got, last CitizenCon 2954 with Squadron 42, they had a lot of things in there that they have to fix. It's obviously not polished yet, but if it's polished and it gives you the experience throughout the game that it gave us as we were just watching it, and if it's good at launch, I'm not saying it's great. If it's good at launch, you have to have Star Citizen in a playable state. CR said it best himself. He was correct when he said this. I 100% agree with him. If Star Citizen was in a playable state right now, better stability, bug fixes, all that, it would be a great game now. So with Squadron 42 coming out, that's going to be a gateway to Star Citizen. There are going to be a lot of players that after they get done playing Squadron 42, if they really enjoyed it, they're going to say, well, if this is good, then what is Star Citizen like? I want to keep this going on. So with that Because I said all this year, everything that happens this year, I truly believe is going to be tied into getting it prepared for Squadron 42. And what better place than Invictus launch week? What better place than that? You'll have, I mean, everybody will be there. Literally every player that plays the game will be there for Invictus launch week, ready to go, ready to download Squadron 42, and ready to play it if they decide to have it go out there. And I can't imagine even CitizenCon of 2026 would not make sense for Squadron 42 to come out around that time. Having it out for the holidays wouldn't make sense. It just makes sense for it to come out during the Invictus launch week. I mean, perfect timing. That Squadron 42 drop, you get to play that. You'll have a free fly at Invictus launch week, so that means, you know, new players who are downloading Squadron 42 and playing that can actually go and download Squadron 42. I mean, I'm not Squadron 42, but Star Citizen for free. Play that and get the comparisons and really kind of get that bug and say, hey, you know, I need to continue to play this. I really need to get into it. But the only way that's going to happen is if they get everything stable this year and everything fixed as much as possible to have a playable game. Not everything is going to be great because they're going to introduce some systems this year, I'm sure, that are going to introduce new bugs and new problems, and they're going to have to get all that stuff done. But I think we're going to see less content or less bigger things. Maybe that's why I should say we'll have a lot of content probably coming in this year, but less big things. I don't think we should expect a Nix or anything like that this year, because introducing a new system like that is going to be riddled with bugs, right? I think it would be better if they introduce Nix next year after the launch of Squadron 42, after Invictus launch week, after you get people coming in and things are still working out, still being stable. Then you go ahead and hit them with, all right, now here's Nix. All right, you play Squadron 42. Now you're dipping in your toes into Star Citizen. Here's Nix, because we want to keep you around. What do you think? What are your predictions? What do you think of my predictions? Let me know in the comments below. And if you stayed this long, because this video definitely went longer than what I really expected it to, but if you stayed this long and if you enjoyed, you know, what I put out, you know, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. You know, I really want to build this community, and everybody who listens to this, I want you to, you know, to feel like you're a part of this community as well. Feel like you're a Legionnaire as well. But thank you again. Thank you for watching this. Yeah. Make sure you leave a comment, and I'll see you guys on the verse.